shift. The car, sporty. Your teacher, nervous. You've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with Online Activation Zone, so you can easily shift your direct deposits from your old clunker of a bank to Associated Bank in just a few clicks. You've got this with Activation Zone from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Don't miss Cherry Pie this Wednesday at the Bud Pavilion's free concert series, Wednesday Night Live. State Fair Park gates open Wednesday night at 6 with Cherry Pie taking the stage at 7. Epic bands, unforgettable nights. It's Wednesday Night Live at the Bud Pavilion.
It's WTMJ's Brandon Stein for Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. The road is calling, and Wisconsin Harley-Davidson has you covered with amazing rides in June. On Saturday, June 14th, you have 2 rides to choose from, either Dogs and Hogs or Sign Effects Ride for veterans. Then Saturday, June 21st, it's the Wisconsin Hero Outdoors Ride for veterans. 2 amazing rides for 2 amazing causes. All info for these rides can be found at wishd.com or find them on Facebook under their events. Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, your destination dealer.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the NBA Finals.
In the NBA Finals, any moment can become unforgettable.
Oh, blocked by James!
Now is your chance to watch the next moment you'll remember forever.
Jordan, open! Chicago with the lead!
Unforgettable awaits.
Anything possible!
The 2025 NBA Finals presented by YouTube TV continue on ABC.
Here's to experiencing it all this summer in Wisconsin. Every deliciously cheesy, rockin', magical, fireworks-filled, festival-loving moment. There's Cheese Curd Fest in Ellsworth, Strawberry Fest in Cedarburg, Festival of the Arts in Stevens Point, and the Renaissance Fair in Bristol. Honor the Earth Powwow in Hayward, Mile of Music in Appleton, Venetian Fest, Bratfest, Summerfest. So many fests for your whole crew. Find them all at TravelWisconsin.com. Sponsored by Travel Wisconsin.
Hey, this is Mike from Infinity Exteriors. Buying a roof, siding, or windows can feel overwhelming. Hidden costs, confusing contracts. We don't play that game. We educate you so you can decide. And when you know the facts, Infinity Exteriors is the clear choice. Since 1997, we've installed peace of mind with no surprise upcharges, flexible budgets, and immediate financing. Infinity Exteriors, saving our communities from unscrupulous contractors. Visit infinityexteriors.com.
When you're high, you feel different. Pretty obvious, right? You think different, talk different, but if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Gabe Neitzel. You're listening to 94.5 ESPN, WKTI and WKTI HD, Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
Showtime. The right way to start your day. This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
I don't know. I was just rooting that you were going to somehow spell over wrong.
Okay. I'm not going to spell it for spite.
So where do you want to eat?
Feels like an Arby's night.
Arby's, beef and cheese and... Do you believe in God?
That's not like a word like knife where you could mess it up. Like,
well, I know, that's why it would have been funny.
Over.
I mean, is there really a need for the cat?
Yes.
Oh, so you're pretty religious.
Not true.
When you think about it.
Yes.
When God was making the alphabet or spelling words, why did he put a K there?
You think God
just
created
Okay, all right. I don't want to get into theology.
Yeah, Catholic boy over here.
I don't want to dive into it.
But think about it.
So is it a problem that I'm not really religious?
Not for me.
Why not?
I'm not the one going to hell.
This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios at the Avenue with Gabe Neitzel and Mark Chamorro. Here's Jen Latta.
Running her mouth, she wants to ride it, she's trying to hide it. I'm cool as ever, she's too excited. Her man look like he wanna fight, he ain't doing nothing but running his mouth.
We're letting the inmates run the asylum today. No Jennifer, no Mark. I believe Jen traveling to Bristol. Some cool things that she has going on. Chewy, I think, is just, it's summer hours, so he's going to be taking a day off here and there. So Josh DiMaggio, we're letting Josh DiMaggio go from the producer booth into the Gruber One Call That's All studios, and part-time Will running the ones and twos on the other side. How are we doing this morning, boys?
I'm doing great.
Why are you paging through your notebook like you've got some like notes like prepared for whatever I was saying?
I've gotten into the habit of taking notes so I remember things because I get very excited, and sometimes things will exit my brain. So I was preparing myself, giving myself a clean sheet of paper here to take some notes.
Wait, you're gonna take notes during the show?
Yeah, just little quick reminders. Oh, go back to that point. That was something.
Oh, okay. So this is something, but you shouldn't have to do. So you do this as a producer.
Yes.
Like, hey, things are happening crazy. You never know what's going to happen on our show. Typically, because of the man who's usually in the chair you're in, you have no idea what Chewy's going to say. So you take some notes so you can go back, clip that up, put it on the Jen, Gabe, and Chewy socials. Get the clips out there to the people in case. But you shouldn't have to do that today. You're a host. Isn't that Will's job?
Will's busy. He's got other stuff to do.
What do you mean he's busy?
He's just afraid to give me the reins.
No, it's just
He's worried I'm going to ruin his baby.
it's a good process for me to have things going on, and Will and I oftentimes will tag team things, do things together, so it gives me a frame of reference.
I don't think you need to speak for Will that he's busy and his things going on.
I can talk for myself.
Now, Gabe, you will relate to this. I, much like yourself, aren't great at telling other people what to do or asking for help all the time.
Sure.
So,
well, because it's just easier to do it by yourself.
Yes, correct.
I mean, once I know how to do it, like it's easier for me to just go and do it.
So I will send Will things to be like, hey, can you make this nice? And that will be that's our process we got here.
See, the only other co-host I've ever done a show with, at least I believe, maybe somebody else was doing it in secret, that's ever taken notes during a show is Homer.
Yeah.
But the problem with Homer's notes is, I mean, he gets this big notebook, he writes, even he doesn't know what he's writing down. Like, he writes it down and he knows what he's doing in the moment. But when if you were to take the notebook, when he sits down for the Homer hour later, he's off today. But next time that he's in, if Homer sits down for the Homer hour and you ask him to open up that notebook, he's not going to be able to tell you what he wrote down.
There is a badge of pride, though, when either when he's filling in on this show or I've helped him out on the Homer Hour, when I say something and he takes a note, I don't know what that means or why he does it, but it's an accomplishment.
Well, because Homer found it interesting. He found it interesting enough to write it down. Not interesting enough to remember it, but interesting enough to write it down and maybe hopefully...
It's a little badge of pride that I carry with me when I get Homer to take the notes.
All right, so just a quick question, 800-990-3776. I don't think we can necessarily pull this on the Infinity Exteriors Twitter poll, but we can get you to text in the Carblos Talking text line. I'm curious the last time you took notes. 800-990-3776. And some people do take notes during meetings.
Yeah.
And I know I have been in, like, again, being in content, it's a different world than just about everything else here at Good Karma Brands and ESPN Milwaukee. Because they will, like, some salespeople will take notes. Some people are, encouraged to take notes because they don't. But I'm curious the last time that you took notes. 800-990-3776.
Yeah, there's certain. I mean, I take, like, when I do the weekly wager at Potawatomi with Jen, Ben, or Greg Matzik, I take notes for the show often to give myself reminders. Like, I know we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. Here's some interesting things. Oftentimes in meetings, depending on the meeting, I'll realize I'm taking notes for really just me in the moment. It feels like I should be doing it, but oftentimes I don't refer back to them. I do. Do you write yourself like a checklist daily or weekly or anything along those lines to, hey, I need to get to this, not today, but some point this week?
I don't, but I probably should. If I'm being completely honest, because there will be things that I just like push off, like, I've got time to do that, when it would have been just easier to make a checklist, get everything done, and then not have to worry about it and scramble.
If I were to guess, like, I'm thinking back to Greg Scalzo when he used to host Scalzo and Brust.
Yeah.
He would take notes, but they were oftentimes on his hand. Oftentimes they were text messages he sent to himself or emails that he just left up and constantly typed in. I imagine the digital version is probably something like, Will, are you writing down notes, or were you just graduated school? Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Were you handwriting notes at any point ever, or was it usually like Word docs you typed out?
Never during class. But on a daily basis, I'll write out like things that I have to do today because it makes me feel better when you check it off and you remember it a lot better.
checking off something off the checklist.
Yeah, so John and MKE, he's saying notes are taken daily in almost every meeting. Good for John.
Yeah.
Good for John. Todd, last Thursday at a client meeting, is a closet of his son's old notebooks that he uses for notes. So he's still taking hand notes. Because there are a lot of people...
I like that he's reusing his son's notebooks that he wasn't using presumably for school.
So like the Notes app on my phone, right?
That's a disaster for me.
Oh, really?
There's so much in there and I don't know what it's about.
I just have a bunch of passwords and like movies I need to watch in there. It's all jumbled.
Yes, it's a disaster for me.
About the only thing I have in there that's so I shout out to our friends at Broken Bat. I'm a member of the Mug Club. I have my number of my Mug Club, so I don't forget what that is. So that's in there. And then I have been trying to be better at tracking the number of shows I do for the network, for ESPN Radio.
Yes.
So when it comes contract time, it's like, hey, here's how many shows I've done the last year.
I bet if I dug through my Notes app and all the things I have in there, I would be able to locate the code for the apartment I lived in New York City that the company was renting for it, the corporate housing.
Yeah.
And there was a PIN code to get in the door. I bet if I looked hard enough, I'd be able to find that in there.
You have that many things in your notes?
Oh, they go back to...
Literally, I have 3 things in here. I have the code to my locker at the Wisconsin Country Club. So the combo to my locker. It's an old school combo. So like that, I know what it is, but I put it in there, just initially as some place to put it. I have the Broken Bat in my number, and then the number of shows. Literally, it's just 3 things. I have 3 things in my Notes app. You have that many things in your Notes app?
So they update every time you update it, but I have a note in here that hasn't been touched since 7/12/19. But I have a running note that has like a bunch of passwords that is password secured. So you can't get into it without...
What if you forget that password?
Well, Face ID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just found a note reminding myself to watch Marley and Me, and then it has Luis Roberts hitting stats on the bottom.
Marley and Me?
No, Luis Roberts?
I don't know
the guy
what I was
stinks
doing.
now.
I know. I was doing his splits before and after a couple years during his career.
Were you in an argument with the boys and you had to say, I got to show them this one?
I must have been. That had to have been what it was.
What? You got Marley and Me and Luis Roberts in the same note.
It's from a couple weeks ago.
Wait, from a couple weeks ago? I just assumed it'd be from a couple. You haven't watched Marley and Me yet? Oh boy, what do we got?
Per Ian Rappaport, the Packers are releasing star cornerback Jaire Alexander today. Sources say.
All right. Well, all the fun is over now. We are having some fun. We are having good times. Will, if you have any notes on Jaire Alexander, feel free to delete them.
Yeah, I'll go through the database.
Just go through the Notes app and feel free to delete them.
It might be next to like a Chinese food order or something that I wrote down.
To me, this was always kind of the expected outcome. Jaire being released. Now, the fact that it's coming, I guess this makes sense. The fact that it's happening
100%.
Today, because they don't want to have to pay him the $700,000 workout bonus for him showing up and not doing anything during mandatory minicamp this week. Starts tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. Sometimes they just give Thursday off. Sometimes they go do that team building activity. But we talked about it at the time when Matt Schneidman of The Athletic had the report saying that, the Packers have given him a contract offer, and there were so many people I saw online that decided they wanted to dunk on Packers reporters the way they reported on this year, this offseason. Oh, he wants to be here. They've offered him a contract. Clearly he's coming back. It's like, if it was that great, he would have accepted it. And obviously, they could not come to terms on any sort of contract. So I don't think this is going to be a situation, because it's only happened one other time that I can think of. And it wasn't contentious. It came out of nowhere. One time, the Packers released A.J. Hawk, only to, re-sign him the next day.
Yeah.
And there was some weird financial thing that they were able to manipulate by doing his contract that way, by releasing him and then bringing him back into the fold. That's not what this is.
No. Nope.
So this is Jaire Alexander's Two-time second-team All-Pro cornerback. His time has come to an end with the Green Bay Packers per now Jeremy Fowler reporting it as well. So it's now all over that the Packers are going to be releasing Jaire Alexander today.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to dedicate time to dunking on all the people who thought we and the Packers reporters had some incentive to be anti-Jaire, or as if we wanted him cut, despite, I think, all of us saying we'd love for Jaire Alexander to be a Packer. I'm going to move past that. The fact it comes now is interesting. Obviously, there was that report also within the Scheidman report that he said he was planning to attend mandatory minicamp, and people read that as a positive. And I think Jason Wilde was one of the first people to say it, and I totally agreed. He wasn't doing that out of the goodness of his heart because he thought things were going to go well. He was trying to force their hand.
Yep.
And what the Packers did is they saw that deadline and met it and said, okay, we weren't able to get this done. We are going to prevent any of the nonsense of the questions that would have to be asked of Jaire's here, why isn't he on the field, where you had with contract, and just moving on from him at their, I mean, this is the last moment, basically.
Yeah, well, it turns out this was the deadline. We had always been wondering, okay, what's that deadline? Oh, they're looking to trade him. Clearly the draft must be the deadline. Draft comes and goes. He's still on the team.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're going to wait for June 1st, because after June 1st, you can split that up and you can manipulate the contract, save some money this year. And, okay, June 1st comes and goes. Not the deal. And then today ends up being the day that Jaire Alexander is released by the Green Bay Packers. So he is going to be playing elsewhere. Somebody's going to come. Somebody's going to scoop him up. I would not be shocked if by the end of the week he has a new contract to play elsewhere, just so he can get into the building early.
I wouldn't be surprised if he already has one.
If he's got something lined up.
Because the Packers have allowed him to go out and kind of search for trade opportunities, all that stuff. So I think everyone knows and has known in the NFL that, hey, if you want Jaire, it's kind of open for business, and you just have to wait until the Packers make a decision one way or another. So I would expect him probably to be arriving at like a camp by the end of the week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like potentially,
Right.
because just about everybody this week is doing their mandatory minicamp Tuesday through Thursday. So if he could just get into the building so he could get his hands on a playbook, things of that nature, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like Wednesday, Thursday, he could be somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's an end of an era. Jaire has been probably one of the more entertaining Packers to watch in recent memory. He was a lightning rod. He performed, as you mentioned, with the All Pros, with some of the best in the league. At one point, he was the highest paid cornerback, I believe, in NFL history, and in the league. So for it to come to an end is, we're now left looking at what do the Packers have left, and is it going to be enough to sustain a season with great competition within the division?
So we've got a lot of questions to be answered on the Carbless Talking text line. I might even read when the last time somebody took notes, too. I was having fun with that. But we will get to more on this. We're going to answer your questions and that question that Joshy just broke up. The breaking news today, Jaire Alexander going to be released by the Green Bay Packers. More on that coming up next. Jen, give it to it.
Your state, your teams, your ESPN. The ESPN Wisconsin app. Find the ESPN Wisconsin app in the Apple or Android app stores today. More Jen, Gabe, and Chewy coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
Northbound 41, slowing down just before Mayfair Road, all the way up past Capitol Drive to Hampton. Southbound side slowing down from just south of Appleton Avenue down to Burleigh. Northbound 43, we got some backups from Fond du Lac up to Keith. And we also have a crash on the off-ramp from 4394 southbound to Beecher. Just watch out for that. The main line looks okay, though. Traffic is brought to you by the Golden Mass, now offering relaxing rides on Okauchee Lake aboard their brand new Bay Runner pontoon patio. Enjoy 2-hour cocktail cruises on Thursdays and Sundays. Get tickets at goldenmassinn.com. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast today, mostly cloudy, breezy, scattered showers and storms, a high of 69. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 54. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
the best source for every piece of NFL news you need to know.
The people there made it a really great trip. The people in Green Bay were really nice, like literally driving ESPN people around themselves.
ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter is on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy every Wednesday morning at 7:30. Sponsored by Island Resort and Casino.
The Pancake Palace in Green Bay was outstanding. So really nice trip.
On 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Forget average. At Exterior Pros, they bring the heat. They're not here to meet standards, they're here to smash them. From the first swing of the hammer to the final reveal, they're leveling up your home with every window, every shingle, and every single detail. This isn't just a remodel, it's a glow up for your house. Built tough, built beautiful, built to turn heads. One in? Let's go. Lock in your project now and save $3,000. Exterior Pros, where bold meets built. Trust the pros and visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274.
Don't miss 3 weekends of live music at Milwaukee's Summerfest, presented by American Family Insurance, including Devo, James Taylor, Chicago, plus Richard Marx, Rick Springfield, George Thorogood, and more. Get tickets now at summerfest.com.
Rivals meet again when the Brewers battle the Cardinals June 12th through the 15th. Come for a duel between the Contreras brothers on the diamond and stay for one of the best weekends of summer. It's Tropical Day, Saturday, June 14th, featuring a Brewers straw hat with special tickets. Then take Dad to the Father's Day game for a Barrelman cooler giveaway on June 15th. It doesn't get any better than this. Get in on the action at Brewers.com.
Teams are battling for the championship, and there's no better place to get in on the intensity than ESPN Bet. Go from tracking the latest game-changing moments to placing bets in just a few taps. Right now, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code USL to get started today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
This just in, the NFL schedule has dropped, and you know what that means. It's go time. Adam Schefter here with the Insider Tip. If you're trying to catch your team live this season, Vivid Seats is the move. For the best selection of games and seats, it's time to snap your tickets up now. Vivid Seats has great deals on great seats and the only rewards program in the game. It's no wonder they're the official ticketing partner of ESPN. So don't wait. Head to vividseats.com or download the app and lock in those game days.
The Golden Mast is offering relaxing rides on Okauchee Lake aboard their brand new Bay Runner pontoon patio. Enjoy 2-hour cocktail cruises on Thursdays and Sundays. Get tickets at goldenmastin.com. Private event rentals also available. Bigger boat, more people, more fun. goldenmastin.com.
This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Excuse me. Hold on. Getting choked up over it. So, hold on. Give me a moment.
On 94.5 ESPN.
Rough start the first couple of weeks for Levis as he goes to the air. It's intercepted. Jaire Alexander high stepping for 6.
Call courtesy of Fox. Pick 6 this past season for Jaire Alexander. Back when things were simple, back when things were great between the Packers and Jaire Alexander, he was refreshed, he was renewed under the new defensive scheme, defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Looked like he was getting along with his coaches. And then Jacksonville happened.
That highlight just reminded me wistfully of the Will Levis era when he was throwing the most improbable interceptions like every single week, and they were always pick sixes. And Jaire was lucky enough he was like falling away on his that was a time in the Packers where that was Malik Willis, right? That game?
Yeah, uh-huh.
So that was...
I was about to say, because whatever happened there with Will Levis, Jordan Love caught that bug for a little bit. Yes. I think of the Lions pick 6, wait, what the hell are you doing?
What the hell's going on out there type place?
I don't know who you were throwing it to other than that guy. Right. And clearly he was just going to waltz into the end zone after you did that. Luckily, Jordan cleaned that up. I think that was some residuals from injury.
Yeah.
But Jay asks this question on the Car Blues Talk and Text line, 800-990-3776. So when does Alexander sign with Minnesota?
Yeah, that I reacted to this. I've thought this was the inevitable thing that was going to happen once we heard about the trades falling through. I think the contract offer, and we'll probably find out what that looked like, that Matt Schneidman reported about, and it's probably going to be something along the lines of, we offered Jaire basically nothing and told him take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Because if they were truly working towards a reconciliation, they would have been able to find some common ground, because I think it benefits both Jaire and the Packers type of deal. But it's probably going to be the Aaron Jones deal, where it was basically nothing, take veteran minimum. So I tweeted that it was inevitable, and I just hope he doesn't land in the division, because a motivated Jaire is a Jaire I don't want to see on the opponent's sideline or lining up across from Matthew Golden or Romeo Doubs or Jayden Reed by any means. So part of me thinks there's a real potential he's in the division, and I'm holding out hope that he does not land in the division.
Well, like, if I'm setting odds, like, the favorite's probably Minnesota, because they could use, they're a little like the Packers. Their corners are fine. Their safeties are pretty good. But also, everybody sings the praises of Brian Flores up there, so it wouldn't be shocking if he ended up in a place like that. So while Jay, it's a fun joke to make, I feel like there's also a sense of seriousness within that question of, hey, when does Alexander sign with Minnesota? But from the Packers side, this is kind of goes along with the question you were just asking, Joshy. Dave from Aaron, Ryan from McGuanago, basically asking the same thing. Dave saying, Alexander, bummer, not a good way to start the week. Do you think the Packers will be on the search for another QB or roll with the guys they have? And Ryan says, is the cornerback room good enough without Jaire?
So that's two different questions. I think the first one, and I've long held this belief, we talked about it around the draft. The Packers let us know that they weren't concerned about their cornerback room, and at that point, it was likely Jaire was going to be traded or released. At that point of the year, of the offseason, to me, it's the Packers didn't prioritize that position in free agency, aside from Nate Hobbs, who is a guy that can play the hybrid.
I'd argue they did make it a priority, seeing as how they signed two guys, and that was one of the positions they attacked.
Right. So they took care of it then. And I think the Packers at that point determined our cornerback room is good enough. But we've got the guys we want.
What's interesting to me, and maybe because they signed Hobbs, it wasn't really approached, or maybe I wasn't really paying attention enough during Brian Gutekunst's press conferences leading up to the draft, because everybody was going, man, wide receiver, defensive line, these are the areas the Packers really could use some help. And what did we hear Brian Gutekunst? Oh, we're comfortable with those guys. We're comfortable with those guys in both those rooms. And I understand there is an element of Brian Gutekunst selling the bluff there.
Yes.
Because in case Matthew Golden isn't there,
CYA.
you know, he has to, you know, still, like you said, cover his ass. So I don't recall him saying that about the cornerback room, but I also don't know if he was asked about it.
I think a lot of the attention and oxygen went to the Jaire situation.
Yeah.
Because he made it so clear that they were seeking to trade him. He flat out said that. So I don't know if a lot of time got spent on, well, what comes after Jaire or what comes after that decision. So the Packers went through a draft, and was it the 6th or 7th round is when they ended up drafting another corner. They've been telling us all offseason, once they got Nate Hobbs, we're comfortable with what we got here. And I think it's a little more dynamic than people might think, because Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, and Javon Bullard can all play cornerback positions in spots, and they have throughout their careers.
So they'll drop down into the slot, and they'll go into a bigger nickel using their safeties.
Right. It's not like they just basically now have 3 guys there. They have 3 safeties they think are good enough, and from what they're kind of signaling to us, they feel pretty good about some of those young guys they have in the program that were practice squad guys.
Carrington Valentine, obviously, this is somebody that they believe in. Kalen King is a guy that I feel offseason is a name that I continuously see pop up, another 7th round pick who had potential to be a higher round pick, ended up sliding in the draft, and has been around for a year because of the practice squad.
Yeah, so they feel comfortable, because you don't release a guy like Jaire unless you feel comfortable at that position. Now, are they good enough is a whole different debate.
I think they are.
I think they are adequate.
Yes. Yeah. Which to me is saying, are they good? Is it one of the premier positions on the roster? It is not. But I know Jeff Hafley played a lot more man-to-man at Boston College. But that could have just been a product of the roster that he had, a product of the college game being different than the pro game. So, I know when he initially came in, everybody thought, oh, we're going to play more man-to-man, and which would have been great for Jaire Alexander, somebody who was begging to play more man-to-man under the previous defensive scheme. But they played a ton of zone last year. And that's a byproduct of a couple different things.
Yes.
But it also could be a byproduct of Jeff Hafley realizing this is the way we have to play in the NFL, where we can do more read and react. This is how we're going to be able to, cause these turnovers and do things like that. So do I think that that they can go man-to-man? That they're going to go, hey, Keyshawn, you're cornerback one. We're playing a ton of man this year.
Good luck with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, you're going to travel with Justin Jefferson. You're traveling with Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're traveling with DJ Moore.
Right.
No, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I would say that when I watched the Packers in the second half of last year, I don't recall being overly frustrated. You're going to be frustrated from time to time with cornerbacks. It's just the nature of the game.
Missed assignments, stuff like that.
But I don't recall being overly frustrated by that down the stretch when Jaire was not available to the team. So that was with the guys they had last year, adding Nate Hobbs, who is somebody that it was thought of highly by the Raiders and by people who covered the Raiders. Q Myers, who you can hear here on 94.5 ESPN with Joe and Q from noon to 2. Like, he covers the Raiders. He does a Raiders podcast, and he was kind of sad to see Nate Hobbs go when I had an opportunity to talk with him about that. So I think it's a situation where it stings. The room is certainly worse.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an injury or two, things get sketchy, but you can't have 4 or 5 guys at every position that you feel comfortable with. That's just not the nature of the NFL. So I think the cornerback room, while it certainly can be improved, I don't think it's going to be the weakness of the defense.
Yeah, I'm going to put my trust in the guys doing the evaluations of the guys on the team and the guy they acquired via free agency. Would I like more star power? Would I like a prime Jaire Alexander or a Patrick Surtain out there to kind of bolster that? Yes, I would love that, but that's not always the case you find yourself in. And what they built depth. If you remember, there was a Packers cornerback who primarily played the slot, kind of like Nate Hobbs. His name was Casey Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on to be an all-pro. Once he moved around, played in the slot, played outside, played all sorts of positions. And the Packers are making a bet. I believe they want Nate Hobbs to be a multi-purpose tool, much like they view Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard. They want him to figure in. They're going to use him on both sides. I do think it was interesting that Matt LaFleur kind of lended credence to, we came into the season believing we're going to play one style of defense, which was more of a man-to-man style. And then as the season went on, we ended up playing more of the zone coverage. Now, that's multifaceted. That's not just simply, well, Jaire's not here, we have to change what we're doing. That's, we're not getting enough pressure with 4 up front, and we have to bring these simulated pressures. We have to bring more blitzes than we probably intended to. So we're going to adjust. And the one thing I believe in Jeff Hafley to do, a guy who's already getting head coaching interviews, is he's going to adjust to the players he has. He's going to put that team in the best situation. That's one thing I believe fully. He's going to evaluate his talent, see how it goes in training camp, and he's going to put the best product on the field that best sort of addresses all their skills. So you might not have the guy who's going to come in and lock down Justin Jefferson. I don't believe Keyshawn Nixon is that guy, nor do I believe Carrington Valentine's going to be that guy. But what they're going to do is put the best product on the field. And if you have even a slight increase in getting after the quarterback with 4, with those guys up front, you see massive improvement.
I'm not holding my breath.
I'm not holding my breath. And I don't think Jeff Hafley is either. But if they go from where they were last year to even league average, that's a
that's a big jump.
Massive
That's a big jump.
Yes.
In terms of like pass rush win rate. Because if you look at like the pure sack numbers, those get misleading.
Right.
Because they had, we just heard the Tennessee game. I believe they had 7 sacks in that game.
Well, and they had Edgerrin Cooper, who was seemingly a heat-seeking missile out there for them, which I think they want to use him like that, but they prefer to not have to do that.
When you're playing a 4-3 and your best pass rusher is a linebacker, that's not a long-term recipe for success.
It's a great tool to have in your belt.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Great to have a pass rusher, a guy who can do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's your best pass rusher.
Yes.
That
Big
is
problems.
Yeah, that can lead to some issues. There's some more questions I want to get to here on the Car Blues Talk and text line. Joshy and I going to answer those. Plus, Rob Demovski broke this news as well this morning that Jaire Alexander going to be released by the Green Bay Packers. He is going to be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. So Rob Demovski from ESPN.com going to be joining us here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. More of your questions as Jaire Alexander being released today by the Green Bay Packers. It's Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
More Jen, Gabe, and Chewy coming up on 94.5 ESPN.
We've got delays northbound on 43, going up from Fond du Lac Avenue all the way up to Keefe. Southbound so far so good. Just a little bit backed up from Good Hope Road down past Silver Spring. Southbound 41 backing up pretty heavily from Appleton Avenue all the way down to about Burleigh, with the northbound side backing up from Mayfair Road all the way up almost to Hampton. Eastbound 94, just watch out for a few delays making your way through the stadium interchange. Basically, 35th Street, we do have a broken down vehicle off on the right shoulder, got a hood up there, so just be extra careful heading through that. Traffic is brought to you by the Bud Pavilion's free concert series, Wednesday Night Live at State Fair Park. Gates open every Wednesday at 6. Live music with Cherry Pie starts at 7. Wednesday Night Live at the Bud Pavilion. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast today, mostly cloudy, breezy, scattered showers and storms, a high of 69. Then tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 54. Weather's brought to you by Tsunami Express Car Wash. Visit any of their 6 locations in the Milwaukee market today. Try your first wash free when you sign up online at tsunamiexpress.com. Wash, chill, repeat. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Sip into a flawless summer. Hey, it's KBN's Brad Nortman. Let Carbless ready-to-drink cocktails be your passport to pool parties, patio hangouts, cookouts, and pure summer bliss. Carbless is here to spark a summer of flavor and fun. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, just 100 calories, and of course, all the good vibes. From fruity flavors to refreshing fizz, Carbless stands out in a sea of same-old seltzers. See what flavors fit your summer. Find your bliss today at drinkcarbless.com and enter to win a flawless summer prize pack today.
St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care recently switched to James Imaging Systems for their document imaging technology. Why? CFO Sally Parente.
Well, I think that boils back down to the service. We have a good partnership with James Imaging.
With James, you get more than a vendor relationship. You get a local business technology partner.
Oh, absolutely. I can pick up the phone at any time, contact our representative, and he's right on it.
James Imaging Systems, business technology and local support for more productivity, more value.
Definitely. We're a nonprofit here. We have to watch every penny, so we really feel very comfortable in that area with James Imaging.
Comfortable enough to recommend James Imaging Systems to others?
Well, without hesitation, I would recommend James Imaging. They won't be disappointed.
James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
For your next night out, revel in the fusion of artistry and flavor with Sushi at St. Kate, offering guests an elevated experience where freshness and creativity converge in every bite. St. Kate the Arts Hotel introduces an exciting new sushi menu to its culinary repertoire. Indulge in the finest seafood, freshest ingredients, and expert craftsmanship for an inspired and delectable dining journey. Experience the art of sushi at St. Kate and learn more at stkatearts.com.
Summerfest is almost here, and we're going to send you to all 9 days. It's Summerfest on us. Download the ESPN Wisconsin app and register for your chance to bring a friend and have the best summer ever at the big gig. Summerfest on us. Register today in the ESPN Wisconsin app under the Contest tab.
Thinking about buying or building a new home? Start with a mortgage pre-approval from Great Midwest Bank and experience a state of tranquility. At Great Midwest Bank, we offer fast approvals and flexible options with experienced loan officers who understand the local market, because they live here too. Whether you're breaking ground for new construction or buying that dream home just around the corner, we'll guide you every step of the way. Bank with confidence and start your journey at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Prescott fires for Cooks, and it's intercepted. Jaire Alexander, he's got it. Up on his feet, racing to the end zone, and he's in. Touchdown, Green Bay.
It's all over social media. It's all over everywhere. Jaire Alexander going to be released today. Now, one of the things I am going to be curious is Rob Demovski is going to join us at 8:15, so about 40 minutes from now. Because just because you're released after June 1st doesn't mean you have to split the money up. So you can, and just to kind of give you a quick explanation of the NFL salary cap. Like we've heard this before, even with Aaron Rodgers, post June 1, pre-June 1, the Packers would eat more money on the salary cap this year, which they have. Or if you do this post-June 1, which obviously this would be, you can decide to split up and take some of the cap hit this year and some of the cap hit next year. So that would open up money. Now, whether or not they want to do that, I think can also give us an inclination of what maybe some things they want to do. Like one of my initial thoughts before I found out that Zach Tom had to compete for his spot was, if they designate him a post-June 1 release, maybe they take some of that money, they front-load the contract for Zach Tom a little bit, give him some more money up front, absorb that salary cap hit this year, and then they can structure that contract however they want. I don't know if Zach Tom's getting a contract extension at this point anymore, or maybe if you are, I don't want to say delusional, but Will texts in, not part-time Will, who's behind the glass today. Packers are totally going to use the extra money and get better and trade for Hendrickson, right? Again,
I don't want
to call Will delusional because I also hopeful. Is there a word between hopeful and delusional? Because again, it's sometimes hard to suss out what the context is on the talk and text line. By using the word totally in there, I'm sensing sarcasm coming from Will. So we understand the joke.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine somebody's actually thinking, maybe they'll make a big splash now.
I would be thrilled, beyond myself excited about Trey Hendrickson coming to town. But what I think this is the one you mentioned, Zach Tom, because I found it interesting that Matt LaFleur decided to basically go out and say, this guy's going to be getting a new contract, and we're happy he's here despite all of that. And then Elton Jenkins, who still hasn't reported yet, because he wants some security for moving to guard to center where you're paid less. He wants some security and some locked-in money, saying, yes, I'll be a good teammate, but guarantee me some damn money here because I am doing what's in the team's best interest, so let's make it pay off for
More
me.
importantly for him, guaranteed money next year.
Yes.
Because obviously, they're not doing anything with him this year.
Correct.
They're planning on him being center.
Yes.
But when he reaches the last year of his contract, which is money for a guard potentially tackle, because when he signed that, they thought he could potentially kick out to tackle from guard. Instead, they're sliding him in. It was a pretty big number for Elton Jenkins next year, and they could save a lot of money because there's no guaranteed money left. So I think that's what Elton is looking for. 800-990-3776. It's the Carbless Talk and Text line. This coming from Ryan in McGuanago. Don't teams need a shutdown guy to succeed? It helps, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
No.
And while I know we all love to pine over, Cooper DeJean would have been really nice to have on this team. Like, Cooper was good last year, and he had the moment of the Super Bowl. He picked six in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That was his only interception of the year.
Yep.
Cooper DeJean was a nice player last year. It's not like he was locked down. Same thing with Kenyon Mitchell. The two rookies that they had. The Eagles had good cornerbacks. They didn't have necessarily somebody that you were going, hey, travel around with the top guy. They didn't have that. The Chiefs do. The Chiefs have McDuffie. But you take a look at the other teams that were in there. The Bills don't have just an absolute lockdown, shutdown guy. Same thing with Washington. It helps. It's nice. It's not a prerequisite to winning a Super Bowl.
Let's be direct with one another. I would love to have a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a top 10 edge rusher.
Yes.
I'd love to have a top 10 left tackle.
Yep.
I'd love to have name the position. Yes. I would like to have better players at all the positions. There's probably, two positions where you go, we have one of the best in the league, and that's at running back and at free safety.
Yeah, that's it.
Aside from that, there's plenty of potential to get better across the board. I'd love to have a Dexter Lawrence up the middle instead of Kenny Clark, but that's just not the reality. you have to do with what you got there, and I think the cornerback position is plenty adequate.
Yeah,
that's not exciting.
And I know the game has changed a little bit, but yes, when the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010, obviously they had a shutdown corner. They had Charles Woodson, who the previous year was Defensive Player of the Year. As good as the Packers defense was in 1996, the only other time in my lifetime they've won a Super Bowl, like Doug Evans and Craig Newsome were nice players, but they weren't locked down, shut them down by any stretch of the imagination. They played really good team defense, and it's hard to compare because they had two future Hall of Famers.
Yep.
But outside those two future Hall of Famers and Reggie, who's the greatest of all time at that position, and Leroy, like they just had a bunch of dudes who knew what their role was and played it very, very well. Again, they're missing that stud pass rusher, which makes everything else make more sense. But they've got a really good free safety in Xavier McKinney. And if they can have some growth at different positions, again, because they're still a really young team, the growth still exists. The defense can be as good and can be as good as you need it to be to reach a Super Bowl. It still needs growth, though, from other players. But I'm not expecting them to make a big move at cornerback. Like Luke had asked, what about a Rasul Douglas reunion? I would say there's a reason that Rasul Douglas is still out there, and he is on. There's a reason that he was traded. I mean, one was, they got a draft pick that Goody just couldn't say no to and didn't think that team was actually going to compete for a playoff spot, which they ultimately did. But also you got something for a player that if you did go on a magical run, you're going, okay, this team's not going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. And whenever we do compete, it's more likely that the third rounder we take is going to be a part of our core than Rasul Douglas because, unfortunately, Rasul has gone up over that dreaded age of 30, which seems to be a no-go zone for Brian Gutekunst.
I'm telling myself the same story I think the Packers are, is that Carrington Valentine in his third year, I mean, he's basically been a starter since becoming a rookie because of the Jaire Alexander experiment. I think they're telling the story. He's going to continue to improve and get better. I thought he was better than a lot of people gave him credit for last year, and I think the same stands for Keyshawn Nixon. He's not Jaire, but I think he was a lot better than people gave him credit for, and then they added Nate Hobbs. So to me, they've written a story of a little elevation from some of the guys we got here and reinforcements. We don't know anything about who from the practice squad, be it Kalen King, or the other guy, I forget his name, I'll have to look it up here. But they've got a few guys on the practice squad that I think they have intention of being on the active roster because right now
they need to because they need bodies.
They've got 3 guys that you can say are going to confirmed in that cornerback room be there. And then also an improvement from either or both of Javon Bullard and Evan Williams completely changes that entire defensive backfield. You add in the fact that Edger and Cooper is probably going to continue to develop and hopefully get better. Now you're adding weapons and, all the rising tides lift all boats type deal. If you improve, even a couple of those guys become more consistent and raise their level of play, you're not as worried about, what happens after this.
I think this is fair from Ryan on the Carbless Talking text line. I think you need a shutdown guy if you don't have a good pass rush, which Green Bay doesn't have a go-to consistent pass rush. They got by with their scheme last year, but I'm a bit worried about it now moving forward. I think that's fair.
Yeah?
I think that's fair.
Well, we're the last 2 people who are going to say anything really positive about the pass rush.
No, just can't.
And it is extremely important because the longer a quarterback has time to pick up, wide receivers are eventually always going to get open.
Yes.
You give them...
No matter how good your cornerbacks are. Right, unless you have Dion, somebody's going to get open.
Yes, and that's a simple matter of the fact. And you realized that when Jeff Hafley continued to get more and more creative as the season went on with the either blitzing or simulating pressures were just sort of confusing.
Well, but he would only bring 4, but he'd be dropping somebody who would be in a traditional pass rush spot. He'd drop them off the line, and that would confuse
You're just
the line
hoping the offensive linemen miss their assignment. They get confused with what they're looking at in front of them. But they wouldn't be doing that if they thought, well, these guys are good enough or this pass rush is good enough. They're doing that because they're saying, we got to figure out a way to sort of speed things up for the quarterback, because if they have all day, eventually we're going to lose this battle. Eventually somebody's going to get open. I think the Packers realize that, and I think the Packers are hoping and praying that Rashawn Gary improves or sort of even returns to form in some way.
What do you mean returns to form? Returns to 9 sacks?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you get Lucas Van Ness up to 9, and then you're like, okay.
All right, I thought we were having a serious conversation, Josh. I thought we were having a good conversation. I thought we were talking about realistic expectations for the Packers.
Okay,
and you throw out, oh, maybe Lucas Van Ness triples his production. Oh,
Big
yeah, you just make a huge leap. The broken thumb. Yeah, I'm sure that's really what held him back, being blocked by a tight end one-on-one last year.
You have to tell yourself stories. And I think the Packers are in the storytelling phase.
Are you using the word story as a synonym for lie?
I'm saying maybe it's a fiction.
So now using a second synonym for the word lie.
Hope casting, dreaming, however you want to phrase it. I think lie is a bit harsh.
Lucas Van Ness, 9 sacks.
What about Baron Sorrell? I don't want to say Kingsley Enagbari because I think he has even less of a chance of. Hey, all I'm asking is league average. That's all I want out of the pass rush. And I think league average would make the defense even better.
Well, yeah. Yeah, if you get, again, going off the pass rush.
I don't think it's that crazy for me to tell the story, fiction or not, that the Packers can improve to league average in pass rushing.
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. But again, like Lucas Van Ness, had 3 sacks last year, man.
He got one-on-one blocks multiple times by tight ends. That's how much offenses didn't respect him. That tells the story. I realize what I'm saying here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you didn't mean to say a different name.
No.
Okay.
Well, who else could it be?
That's the problem, man. Because again, while I like Baron Sorrell seems like a good story. I have no idea if he's a good football player.
Shine, his dad will say in the YouTube comments every single day.
But the problem with the 4th round pick is I'm not expecting you to contribute in 2025.
No.
The best pass rushing 4th round pick that the Packers have ever had is Aaron Campman, who was tremendous, fantastic. Took him 3 or 4 years before he went, here's how I'd become an effective pass rusher in the NFL. And again, that can happen with Barron. I'm just not going to put 9 sack pressure on him in year 1. You're not either. You decided to foolishly do it with Lucas Van Ness. So, I can't wait to play that audio for Chewy tomorrow. So make sure, Will, you cut that up, send it to me. So we have, I guess, I have to rely on Joshy to play that sound tomorrow. And I don't know if he's willing to do that when he's back behind the glass. Yeah, computer's not working today. It's just freezing up.
In the mix.
Yeah. The file corrupted. It just didn't save right.
Not working. I can't believe it. This happened again.
9 sacks for Lucas Van Ness.
What about Carl Brooks? He could get 5. That'd be nice. Brenton Cox Jr. Remember when we talked about Brenton Cox Jr. and I said I think he's going to lead the rest of the way? You know who he led the rest of the way? Brenton Cox Jr. in terms of sacks.
Yeah, what did he have?
3. I correctly diagnosed the competition level was going to be low.
You were right.
Yes.
But not a situation where you only wanted to be right.
No.
Unfortunately.
That was just reading the tea leaves.
Guys, I'm telling you, if you want to make plans to propose to that special someone in your life, the Jewelry Center, the only place to go for the ring. Best place to shop for diamond engagement rings in Milwaukee for a reason. It's what I did. And that anniversary is coming up when I got my wedding band and, obviously I had the ring before for my wife. But I kind of had an idea, looked online, picked one out that I really liked. But maybe you don't have an idea of what that ring should look like. Go to our Pinterest page. Bring those ideas into the Jewelry Center, the helpful team. To me, what makes the Jewelry Center, that helpful team, always going to point you in the right direction. Whether you're looking for a lab-grown diamond, a naturally mined diamond, the Jewelry Center has it. Check out their inventory. Any one of their 3 locations, Greenfield, Brookfield, or in Burlington. Shop online, shoptjc.com. And when you go to the Jewelry Center, first of all, tell Dean the Dancing Machine we say hi. And second of all, tell him that Gabe and Chewy sent you.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app. The 2015 Wisconsin men's hoops team gave us all a march to remember.
There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game.
On June 26th, enjoy an intimate celebration with the stars of the run with Made 'em Believe. Presented by M3 Insurance. World-class expertise and individual attention. Tickets are on sale now at uwhoops2015.com. Made 'em Believe. June 26th at the Orpheum Theater in Madison.
Summer's here, and seasonal businesses are hiring everything from hiking guides to surf instructors and more. Whether you're hiring for one of these roles or any other role, you need ZipRecruiter to find qualified candidates fast. ZipRecruiter's smart technology gets to work as soon as you post a job, diving in to find great matches and showing you top picks right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/USL to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/USL.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty here. It's time to turn things up a notch. This summer, don't binge watch shows, binge s'mores by the campfire. Press pause on the podcast and press play on Warm Weather Vibes. Here's your chance to win $10,000 for your ultimate summer. What are you waiting for? Take a shot with 5-Hour Energy and make this summer your best summer ever. Visit 5HEshot.com for full details and rules to enter today. No purchase necessary. Ends June 30th, 2025.
Here at Total Wine & More, our amazing selection means you'll always
love what you find.
Dad, what are you doing here?
Just getting a sneak peek at my Father's Day gifts.
Well, I was thinking of getting you this Barrel Select bourbon.
That's a really nice bottle.
And Total Wine has it at the totally lowest price.
Wow. You always were my favorite.
Thanks, Dad.
Talking to the bourbon, sweetie.
Find what you love what you find. Like the perfect gift for Dad at the perfect price. Only at Total Wine & More.
And drink responsibly. B21.
It's time. Time for the pro to get everything for the job delivered. Large orders of lumber, doors, windows, paint, plumbing, anything the job needs, all from one partner. Get it today with same-day delivery. Get it tomorrow with next-day delivery on 50,000 plus products. Or get it on your timeline with scheduled delivery on everything from framing to flooring. It's time to get your whole job, all your jobs delivered. Ask about all our new delivery options at the Pro Desk. The Home Depot Pro, it's about time.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
From the biggest stars to the greatest moments, Behind the Bucks is Bucks history like you've never heard it before. Go behind the scenes of the Emmy-nominated Giannis documentary. Get the real story of the blockbuster trade for Damian Lillard. Hear the origin of Bucks in 6. It's all on Behind the Bucks on the Bucks Plus audio network, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, and wherever you get podcasts.
This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
His eyeball.
Wait.
Where do I get him?
I just assumed when I said wait, did you just think it was just a suggestion?
Yeah, pretty much. Typically.
On 94.5 ESPN.
I'm just here to tell you, Pack is back.
No more Jaire Alexander being released by the Green Bay Packers today. Adding a little more to this, Tom Silverstein of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel just about 20 minutes ago tweeting out, Packers had a trade in place with another team earlier in the year, but the other team wouldn't pay Alexander's full $17 million salary. Alexander didn't want to take less, and due to that, the trade never happened. The die was cast early in the offseason. And I think that's what this comes down to. I think we had kind of heard, some similar rumors to that before Silverstein just put that out there on social media. But yeah, it seemed like Jaire was going to say, unless somebody releases me, you're going to have to pay me the full $17 million. Ultimately, the Packers didn't want to do that. Ultimately, he didn't want to take whatever contract offer that they gave him per Matt Schneidman a couple of weeks ago. And that's the biggest reason he is no longer a Green Bay Packer. Mike in Hattiesburg says, I think we have to have perspective also. Jaire was off the field more than on the field. Main concern for me now is depth. But again, Joshy, I think they have 3 guys that they trust. Right now, they've got 3 guys they trust because they signed Hobbs, they gave him money. They gave Jaire a nice contract, and Carrington Valentine. I don't know how many teams have 4 corners that they're going, yeah, all these guys are starting caliber. I mean, there just aren't that many across the league where you're like, oh, yeah, one of our guys goes down, it'll be fine.
Right. And we probably haven't mentioned enough. The reason Jaire's not here is simply because he wasn't on the field enough.
Yeah.
And that is the largest looming factor regarding anything happening today with Jaire being released with the guys they've brought in to replace him. I mean, last year, I don't think it's even fair to count the Packers as having Jaire on the team. Really, the past 2 seasons. Because Jaire wasn't there for the biggest moments for the Packers at many points of the season.
He was healthy for the playoff push 2 years ago.
Yes.
So he was back on the field for that.
Right.
Because he had a pretty big moment in that Cowboy game.
When you have to start hand-picking portions of seasons.
I'm just saying his interception against the Cowboys was sweet. That's all I'm saying.
It was sweet. I also think the Packers win that game regardless of the interception, but that's neither here nor there. what I'm saying is, and this might come as a surprise to people, but the Green Bay Packers cornerback room, even after releasing Jaire, is better than it was last year. Because you had one guy who wasn't really contributing at all in Jaire Alexander, and you upgraded Eric Stokes to Nate Hobbs. So to me, they are better than they were last year. You just don't have the hope and the dream of, well, if Jaire gets it figured out, if he plays, if he doesn't decide he wants to be a captain in his hometown and get suspended for it, this is a really good cornerback room. But last year, he wasn't available, and that's why he's not a member of the Green Bay Packers, and that's also why the team who was seeking to trade him was unwilling to pay him $17 million. He simply was too unreliable at this point in his career.
Jaire Alexander, the first pick of the Brian Gutekunst era. Was he the best pick of the Brian Gutekunst era? We answer that question coming up 2 minutes. Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Delays along southbound 43 starting from just before Good Hope Road all the way down past Silver Spring, back on the brakes from Capitol Drive down towards Locust. Northbound, slow from Fond du Lac Avenue all the way up past Keefe. We got westbound 94 tightening up a bit, 35th Street all the way to Mitchell Boulevard, and then back on the brakes west of the zoo into Waukesha County. Eastbound slowing from 84th all the way to about 35th Street. Traffic is brought to you by the Bud Pavilion's free concert series, Wednesday Night Live at State Fair Park. Gates open every Wednesday at 6. Live music with Cherry Pie starts at 7. Wednesday Night Live at the Bud Pavilion. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast today, mostly cloudy, breezy, scattered showers and storms with a high of 69. And then tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 54. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Summerfest brings the biggest names in live music to Milwaukee's lakefront across 3 unforgettable weekends, including performances from Hozier, Megan Thee Stallion, Benson Boone, plus Alex Warren, Allie and AJ, Betty Who, Artemis, Nessa Barrett, and more. Don't miss Milwaukee's Summerfest, presented by American Family Insurance on June 19th through the 21st, June 26th through the 28th, and July 3rd through the 5th. Get tickets now at summerfest.com.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
This is Kevin Moret from Mentality. Men, you're being robbed of your potential. Research shows a shocking 1% annual decline in testosterone levels. That's why building muscle feels impossible and your confidence is at an all-time low. But here's the truth. You're not alone in this uphill battle. Mentality's physician-directed, FDA-approved treatment doesn't just level the playing field, it restores your body's powerful balance. Our patients experience a documented 30% increase in their testosterone levels. Stop struggling and turn this around. Defy the odds and reclaim your masculine edge at mentalityhealth.com/radio.
Hey, this is Jen Latta. You're listening to 94.5 ESPN, WKTI, and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station. Showtime. The right way to start your day. This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
I don't know. I was just rooting that you were going to somehow spell over wrong.
Okay, I'm not going to spell it for spite.
So where do you want to eat?
Feels like an Arby's night.
Arby's, beef and cheese and... Do you believe in God?
It's not like a word like knife where you could mess it up. Like,
well, I know, that's why it would have been funny.
Over.
I mean, is there really a need for the K?
Yes.
Oh, so you're pretty religious.
That's right.
When you think about it.
Yes.
When God was making the alphabet or spelling words, why did he put a K there?
You think God
Just
created
Okay, all right. I don't want to get into theology.
Yeah, Catholic boy over here.
I don't want to dive
created
into
the heavens
But
and
think
earth.
about it.
So is it a problem that I'm not really religious?
Not for me.
Why not?
I'm not the one going to hell.
This is Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios at the Avenue with Gabe Neitzel and Mark Chamorro. Here's Jen Latta.
She wants to ride it, she's trying to hide it. I'm cool as ever, she's too excited. Her man look like he wanna fight.
More breaking news from Tom Pelissero around the Green Bay Packers. We already know that Jaire Alexander not going to be reporting to mandatory minicamp this week for the green and gold because, well, it's going to be released. Ian Rappaport reporting that earlier today. Rob Demovski et al. At ESPN also reporting that. Speaking of Rob, he's joining us in 12 minutes. Tom Pelissero 3 minutes ago. In other Packers news, offensive lineman Elton Jenkins, who skipped voluntary workouts amidst mid-contract talks, has reported to mandatory minicamp, though it seems unlikely he'll practice this week, which is not shocking and seems like he's showing up just to avoid being fined.
Yeah, it would not be, I would not personally advise Elton Jenkins to hit the field before he has any sort of contract restructure done, because if he does freak accident, something happens, suffer an injury, the Packers would not, out of the goodness of their hearts, pay him. So it is a smart decision. It does show that he's not the full insubordinate. I'm not showing up, deal with it. He's doing his part. It does, well, it's contentious because if you're not participating, there is some sort of contention there. It does seem like he feels pretty comfortable showing up and being around and getting a contract done before the season starts.
Yeah, and that's, again, we'll see how that continues to play out. Maybe some of the money they save with Jaire Alexander will go towards Elton Jenkins. But we asked the question. He is the first draft pick of the Brian Gutekunst era, Jaire Alexander. Is he the best draft pick? And I think the answer, Josh, unequivocally and very simply is yes. He is the only draft pick that has made an all-pro team. He's twice made second-team all-pro. And while there is, certainly potential behind a lot of these guys that we've talked about today, especially on the defense from last year, Edgerrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, all have a lot of potential. They haven't reached that potential yet. So we've seen, guys that we were excited about that could potentially reach, but just didn't. So I would say right now, without a doubt, Jaire Alexander is the best draft pick of the Brian Gutekunst era.
So to me, there's probably 3 or 4 guys you could actually consider as best draft pick. Obviously, the one we're discussing now, Jaire Alexander. The one we just mentioned, Elton Jenkins, for where he was drafted and what he's become, a sort of perennial Pro Bowl player, one of the guys that all the tape grinders and the evaluators will tell you is incredible. Then obviously Zach Tom, who's one of the best right tackles in all of football. And then, of course, Jordan Love. I'm having a hard time parsing out and figuring out how I could, in good conscience, rate Jaire above Jordan Love. despite me thinking Jordan Love needs to perform better, needs to play better, needs to elevate his game to elevate the Packers to where they need to be, it's hard to look at the singular most important position on the field and not realize that the Packers are in the spot they are in because Jordan Love was able to replace Aaron Rodgers to a, at very least, competent to pretty good level at times.
So a competent quarterback, a guy who is not a top 10 quarterback.
Yep.
No, I just can't go there. I just can't go there. He hasn't earned a single accolade. Like, in order to be a really good draft pick, I don't care how much money you make. Rashawn Gary got a bunch of money, too. He's inexplicably made a Pro Bowl. Like, Jaire Alexander is one of the top 5, has been one of the top 5 guys at his position. I don't think it's even close. Like, Jordan Love, yeah, sure, it was good. It was a good draft pick. But unless Jordan Love actually develops into the guy that you're talking about, it could end up being a disastrous draft pick.
I feel in confidence I can say it is not and will not be a disastrous draft pick of Jordan Love. He is at very least...
It could be a disastrous contract.
I don't even believe that. With the amount of level that the money that it costs to acquire and keep a franchise level... Like, Jordan Love is a franchise quarterback. Is he one of the top? Is he elite, basically?
Well,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, he's being paid like a franchise quarterback.
Right.
Do I think he can eventually perform like that on a consistent basis? Yes, I do. Has he done that yet? No, he has not. And if he had, we wouldn't be talking about how he needs to be better in order for the Packers to get where they need to go.
I think anybody safely in that top 15 is a franchise quarterback. The difference is, can they be elite? Can he elevate his level of play to where he's talked with Lamar Jackson?
Okay, we're now splitting hairs. It's like, okay.
I think splitting hairs here is important.
Because you're talking about somebody who is, like in baseball. Every team technically has an ace because somebody has to be first in the rotation, right? But not every team actually has an ace.
I think that's an unfair comparison because Jordan Love, I mean, we talked about Will Levis earlier in the pick 6 he threw. That was their franchise quarterback, but they hadn't made that decision yet. Jordan Love got a second contract. He's taken a team to the playoffs twice. He's won a playoff game. He's here for the long haul. There is no... Do you think there's really any chance, unless Jordan Love's play tanks in the next 2 seasons, that he's not a Green Bay Packer for a third contract? Well, technically that's probably 4th because he got a second contract.
The weird thing that they did instead of doing the 5th-year option, it was very, very strange.
So, I think he's going to be the Packers franchise quarterback for the long haul. How long that is it simply another extension after this one? But Brian Gutekunst and team has told you this is our guy, and this is the guy we think we can win a Super Bowl with. And I think that's important enough because, and I'm not trying to take away from Jaire here. I think...
No, that's exactly what you're doing. But go ahead, continue.
Maybe I'm colored by the fact that he played in 50% of the games the past 4 seasons.
Yeah, I think you're not remembering how good Jaire was pre-injuries.
I think I remember.
I don't think you do.
You don't tell me what I remember, Dave.
I think I do.
Brain. I value quarterback play, and even above average to good quarterback play is more valuable than even the best cornerback in the league, which I think has been a long time since Jaire's been there.
He was one of the top 5 cornerbacks like 2 years ago.
When he was on the field?
Yeah. And last year, I mean, he still finished second on the team in interceptions, second on the team in pass breakups, despite playing only half the games last year.
Yeah, that's great. 50% of somebody is still a failing grade.
I mean, like, Jordan's good.
We agree.
Jordan's good. I just don't... I want you to be at least a top 10 position. Like,
you can build your team with cornerbacks.
If you want to...
quarterbacks.
I think if I put a team of 11 corners on the field, I'd beat your team of 11 quarterbacks.
I don't know. Josh Allen, Jane Daniels, Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen could be the best tight end on earth. If he wanted to be.
I mean, probably true. It's probably true. Yeah. I'm just saying, Jordan hasn't ascended to the level of, like, if he's in your top 10, Like he's in the back half of your top 10.
Yes.
And I would not even say, like, I think both of you and I would put him in the top 10.
Yes.
So I think we find common ground there, but I don't think it's undisputed.
No,
right?
Certainly not. I think a lot more people have him just outside.
Yeah.
It's probably 50-50. He's either in the 8, 9, 10 or the 11, 12, 13 for people. I think that is universally pretty much agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bears, Vikings, Lions fans might not agree with that, but I think they're colored the opposite way we may be colored putting them into the top 10.
Yeah.
The important thing to me is just simply position value and the gumption it took to make that draft pick at the point that it was made. I think Jaire was incredible as a draft pick, and I don't even really I remember him sort of being talked as a first-round prospect, but not like a surefire. It's not like a Cooper DeJean who ended up actually falling to the second round. It wasn't like this guy's a first-rounder and he fell to them. Goody went out and made a pick and took a guy he believed in, and it ended off paying off for half the time, as beautifully as you could ever imagine. You had a guy that was an all-pro, a guy you felt good enough at the time to sign to one of the most lucrative defensive back contracts ever. So I am splitting a thin hair here because of position value, but I also understand it's a great pick. And it is one of that probably helped the Packers be where they are in the waning years of Aaron Rodgers.
I will just say, going back to your Jordan Love conversation, now again, I would not bet on this to happen. But I do see a world where the end of this contract is it for Jordan Love. That world, that's a possibility.
I think,
like, if he does not improve,
copy and paste.
If he stays at this level and does not improve, do you think that they want to pay $74 million against the cap in 2028? Or do you think with just with a $15 million dead cap, or do they just walk away?
I don't think they would walk away. That's an interesting debate. Now, Jaire was released, and now we're debating Jordan Love. But I think copy and paste 2024 for the next 2 seasons. I think Jordan Love gets another contract. It's probably not going to be
I mean, the placeholder is 2028. Like 2027, you can still skate by because at that time the cap hits $42.5 million, and who knows how much the cap's going to go up. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, just with the way contracts go and people trying to lock in their futures.
Yeah,
I don't see it going much past like a third year, like the 2 years, and then you're kind of discussing: are we in the market for a new quarterback, or are we sticking with the one we have? And I think his play was adequate enough that they would blame things around him, as we've seen them do this offseason.
See, that's what I don't like.
I don't love it either.
I don't like how they're willing to make excuses for Jordan Love left and right.
And I don't think Jordan Love wants excuses made. He has not shown.
But he made one of the excuses himself. Well, what do you mean? Like,
I think
both him and Matt LaFleur understood the question that was being asked and decided to lock on to the what do you mean it was a regression? We won more games, or he did this, and the fact of the matter is Jordan Love needs to be better.
Yeah,
in order for the Packers to win a Super Bowl.
I think it's two different things there. Matt LaFleur is just full-throated defense of his quarterback and going to support him however he can. And I think Jordan Love was caught a little off guard and got defensive, which
it happens.
I could see that happening.
Yeah,
if somebody tells me, "Hey, you need to be better," like, who are you? Rob Demovski telling me I need to be better. Not that was him, actually.
Speaking of Rob Demovski, he is going to join us to break down everything happening with Jaire Alexander being released. That's coming up next. Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Jen, Gabe, and Chewy are back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
Delays along southbound 43 starting from just before Good Hope Road all the way down past Silver Spring, back on the brakes from Capitol Drive down towards Locust. Northbound, slow from Fond du Lac Avenue all the way up past Keefe. We got westbound 94 tightening up a bit, 35th Street all the way to Mitchell Boulevard, and then back on the brakes west of the zoo into Waukesha County. Eastbound slowing from 84th all the way to about 35th Street. Traffic is brought to you by the Bud Pavilion's free concert series, Wednesday Night Live at State Fair Park. Gates open every Wednesday at 6. Live music with Cherry Pie starts at 7. Wednesday Night Live at the Bud Pavilion. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast today, mostly cloudy, breezy, scattered showers and storms with a high of 69. And then tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 54. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
The 2025 Delzer ESPN Milwaukee Open is back at the Bog. Tune in all day on July 15th for our ESPN Milwaukee crew having fun and hitting the links. The 2025 Delzer ESPN Milwaukee Open is sponsored by Carbless, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, Fifth Third Bank, Cider Heating, Plumbing and Electrical, Gruber Law Offices, Welke's Milwaukee Florist, and Jet Out. Join in on the fun July 15th on 94.5 ESPN, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
This is Kyle Bruston Nortman's Brad Nortman. You hear me talk about Carbless and their refreshing flavors all the time. One of my favorites is watermelon, and Carbless just dropped the Watermelon Vodka Cocktail 4-pack. Perfect for chilling, grilling, or game day thrills. You know the drill. Zero sugar, unlimited flavor. Enjoy clean, crisp refreshment without the guilt. That's what Carbless does. Find the new Watermelon 4-packs wherever you get your Carbless. Crack open the taste of summer and get your bliss on.
I'm Monica Kessler.
Monica makes sure that everything at Kessler's is worthy of a lifetime warranty.
The quality of your ring is incredibly important when it comes to diamond setting, ring sizing, and repairs.
Monica has been part of Kessler's since she was 6 years old.
Let me tell you how to judge the quality of the jewelry you're buying.
It's easier than you think.
All you have to do is read the warranty.
Most stores offer a 5-year warranty, but Kessler's offers a lifetime warranty, the strongest in the world.
We can do it because we put more gold in your jewelry.
When a jeweler wants to make a bigger profit, they put less gold into the jewelry. This makes it thinner and easier to break.
Theirs might look like ours at first glance, but Kessler's jewelry is made not to break, and that takes more gold.
We give you a lifetime warranty because our jewelry is made to last forever, just like your love.
Gold is more than $2,000 an ounce.
Kessler's gives you more gold, a lot more gold.
For the location of the Kessler's nearest you, go to KesslersDiamonds.com.
Turn those hoop dreams into reality with Precision Sports, your one-stop shop in southeastern Wisconsin for Mega Slam, Ironclad, and Dominator basketball hoop systems. Installation of new or old hoops and completely customizable painted court lines. PrecisionSportsOnline.com.
The Protect the Package golf outing takes place on August 16 at Ironwood Golf Course. Come be a part of the most unique outing in the state while helping loved ones battle cancer. Proceeds benefit the This Time Tomorrow Foundation. Sign up your foursome at thistimetomorrow.org under the Events tab.
Tracy Lawrence for the U.S. Air Force.
We all have tough choices we have to make. Life just works that way. I remember when I was getting ready to move to Nashville to pursue my dream, I packed my 10-year-old Toyota Corolla with 250,000 miles on it and hit the road. It was a tough choice, but the right one for me. If I decided to take what seemed like an easier road, I never would have achieved my dream. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
To say, put the past away.
That's right, Jaire Alexander, no longer a member of the Green Bay Packers. He is being released today. Have to wait and see if he ends up elsewhere. We'll get more on that with Rob Demovski, ESPN.com Packers reporters. He'll be joining us here in about 10 minutes. But I did want to get to this audio today, boys, because this happened part of the American Family Insurance Championship that happened in Madison over the weekend. Our boys from Wilde and Tausch were out there, and then Jordan Love, who's an AmFam ambassador, was also out at the tournament. So Jason Wilde had an opportunity to sit down. It wasn't a long conversation, just under 3 minutes. You can check it out, the full conversation, on the Wilde and Tausch Twitter page. But there was also some significant breaking news happening on Friday as Aaron Rodgers going to be officially a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Wilde got to ask Jordan about facing off against his former teammate.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to be on different sides, meeting up. And I know we'll talk pregame and things like that. And hopefully we can exchange jerseys after.
Do you think they'll actually exchange jerseys?
So I thought about this when I first saw this audio. I was trying to figure out what Packers player would be more deserving of Aaron Rodgers' game used jersey. Now, a lot of times what ends up happening now is some of these guys have like multiple jerseys. They'll change at halftime. So they'll give out more than one. But I don't know. Like, there's no for certain future Hall of Famer or like this team from the one Aaron Rodgers left is vastly
different.
It's not like Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson are going to command that. You could argue Elton Jenkins, perhaps, would be deserving.
Yeah, like if David Bakhtiari was still on the team, I would say, okay, that's because they're boys.
There's no Charles Woodson. There's no.
But Aaron still has a really good relationship with Jordan.
Yes,
like and Jordan has openly talked about that, and Jordan did talk about how Rodgers handled him being the backup quarterback situation differently than the predecessor, Brett Favre, did as well in that interview. Jordan Love talking about how Rodgers handled the backup situation. Again, this from Jason Williams, a sit-down with Jordan Love at the AmFam Championship.
He's been through the very same situation I was in, and he knows what it feels like to be in that situation. So I think that's a testament to his character and the way he treats people. He was trying to go about it differently than it was for him, and I was grateful for that.
As much as Aaron Rodgers has gone back on a lot of the things he said following the Brett Favre
retire
years.
at 38. I'm not going to do this Willie won't he thing. He did say he had interests outside of football. That's continued. He's just done them while still being in football.
Both of them together. The one thing he did right by, and the one person he did right by, was Jordan Love. He held his promise of I would never treat a guy like I was treated, which is a positive. And that is the one thing I can say I'm truly appreciative of as a Packers fan, that it didn't go the way amongst the quarterbacks. Obviously, the fallout with the front office is well played. We saw it all. We heard every aspect of it. But the one thing he did hold true to, and the one thing you can hold Aaron Rodgers to, is he was more welcoming to the replacement of him. Not that, I shouldn't say welcoming. He treated his replacement better. He helped him. He was more accommodating to him. He didn't go out and say, well, it's not my job. He didn't do all the stuff that we remember Brett Favre doing. He just went out and won MVPs and then helped that quarterback grow with him as well.
Yeah, and this is something that Joe Flacco had to do and answer the question earlier this offseason because they've got the two young quarterbacks in Cleveland. And it made me think of the Brett Favre situation because Brett still did, at the end of the day, mentor Aaron.
Yes.
Like you've heard the stories, and those things still happen within the quarterback room. You have conversations. You're a younger player. You're learning from the older player. But Rodgers, I do feel like he also went out of his way.
Yes.
To kind of help Jordan Love get better.
To be different.
Which is why they still have a relationship to this day.
Yeah. And there is no doubt in my mind that part of the player Jordan is today is because of Aaron Rodgers. Now, he doesn't share some of the same traits with, protecting the ball. But there are aspects of Jordan's game that you can go, that's an Aaron thing. They've seemed to have tried to keep the catching teams off balance and when they're doing defensive switches and stuff. So there are, at times, as much as Jordan can play like Brett Favre, you can see a degree of Jordan acting like Aaron Rodgers as well. Now, it seems like he's taken some of the good stuff.
Yes. The free plays, especially the cadence stuff, did start with Brett.
Right.
It ran to Aaron, and it seems like that's just going to be, the lineage of Packers quarterbacks.
It's just part of the game for them.
Yeah, it's just a part of, despite having obviously different coaches, throughout that timeline, it just seems like it's going to be a part of whoever the Packers quarterbacks are going to be. But it seems like he's looking forward to having that matchup against Aaron Rodgers, assuming both can stay healthy by the time we get to late October.
Yeah, that's the game of the season, right? As much as the division and all that will matter, the most eyes...
From an entertainment standpoint, yes.
Yes, it's going to be fun to watch on the other side, see the newcomer against the old guy. It's also like it would have felt different with the Jets. The fact that it's the second team Aaron's been on, I think it also makes it a little more. not as spiteful and caught up in it because he didn't go in division. He didn't try and orchestrate his way. He's just trying to find the best team to help him try and, well, let's be honest, make the playoffs. That's a win at Aaron Rodgers' point of his career. So it's national TV. They put it there for a reason. You're going to see every storyline that week possible come out of the Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love. And then it's also going to be Aaron Rodgers versus Brian Gutekunst, versus Matt LaFleur, versus whoever. Maybe it's against versus Romeo Dobbs. Who knows? Because of that storyline of he never really talked to me. Like, all those guys are going to be asked questions about Aaron Rodgers during that week. And it'll be interesting to see how they all approach it.
Yeah, Romeo will be. Elton Jenkins will be. Anybody, I guess Kenny Clark. Would Kenny Clark be asked about just because Kenny's the longest tenured guy?
I think so. I mean, Rashawn Gary played with him. I don't imagine they were the closest of friends being on opposite sides.
Well, because they were on opposite sides of the ball.
And about 10 years difference in age plus.
Again, I think of Kenny because Kenny was there from 2016, for a significant amount of time.
Correct.
They probably had some sort of crossover.
Right, but even like
the offensive line has changed dramatically.
I'm sure Jane Reed's going to be asked about him. Like, I'm sure everyone's going to be asked, despite them not playing against him. They're going to, what is it playing against a future Hall of Famer, a guy who's going to have his
retired at Lambeau Field.
Right. It's going to kind of consume the entirety of that week for the Packers. And it'll be interesting to see how they react to that.
Well, it's amazing how many different players, again, like you said, the roster turnover since Aaron Rodgers was here.
Right. You can count on one hand how many of the guys are still there, I think. Jordan, Kenny,
So
Rashawn.
Jordan, Kenny, Rashawn, Elton. Does Zach Tom cross over?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Zach Tom would have crossed over because he was a rookie that year.
Gotcha.
Because Zach Tom was a part of the.
And then Quay and Devontae. So it's a handful of guys, but all the guys that are there were like rookies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't imagine Devontae Wyatt and Aaron Rodgers had many conversations at all. They're not on the same side of the ball.
Yeah.
They're such a big age difference. Like, the guys who actually know Aaron are basically Jordan and Elton.
Yeah.
And then Kenny just
because Kenny was drafted in 2016.
Right.
Like, he was there
but aside
forever.
from that, it's few and far between at this point.
Just so much turnover. That's crazy also to think about. Jaire Alexander, not going to be a Packer anymore. Rob Demovski breaks it down with us coming up next. But if you are dealing with low testosterone, Mentality is the place you need to go. Local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. So what does that mean? Well, with testosterone, maybe, as you're getting older, there are certain signs that you're going through, kind of tired, groggy, just don't feel like yourself, don't have that energy to attack your day the way you used to be able to. Those are all signs of low testosterone. You go to Mentality to find out if it is. LowTUSA.com. Book an appointment. Go through the process. At the end of it, if your testosterone levels are low after the testing, then you can work with Mentality to get a customized testosterone treatment plan just for you. That's what's awesome about Mentality. This isn't one size fits all where you see those commercials on TV. Hey, just take it. No, this is going to be customized for you. And then you go back every 12 or 13 weeks to make sure that you're maintaining the testosterone levels and feel the way that you should be feeling. It has worked for me. It has worked wonders for me. I absolutely stand by and swear what Mentality does. And you can as well. Go to lowtusa.com. Mentality allows treatment to fit into every guy's lifestyle. Find out more about Mentality and their low testosterone treatments. lowtusa.com.
Jen, Gabe, and Chewy continues next on 94.5 ESPN.
We do have some hefty delays along southbound 43 coming in from Good Hope Road all the way down past Capitol Drive to Locust. Northbound slowing from Fond du Lac Avenue all the way up towards Keefe. We do have a crash on eastbound 94 right about at the stadium interchange off on the right shoulder. Delays coming in from about 76th Street through the stadium. Northbound 41 backing up from Watertown Plank Road all the way up past Capitol, with the southbound side slowing down just past Appleton Avenue down to about Burleigh. Traffic is brought to you by Racine Danish Kringles. Order Dad Kringle for Father's Day at Kringle.com. Have it shipped right to Dad. Kringle.com. Racine Danish Kringles, not just a treat, it's a tradition. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Today, mostly cloudy skies, breezy, scattered showers and storms, a high of 69. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 54. Weather is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, custom solutions built around your goals, member FDIC. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Hey, this is Mike from Infinity Exteriors. Buying a roof, siding, or windows can feel overwhelming. Hidden costs, confusing contracts. We don't play that game. We educate you so you can decide. And when you know the facts, Infinity Exteriors is the clear choice. Since 1997, we've installed peace of mind with no surprise upcharges, flexible budgets, and immediate financing. Infinity Exteriors, saving our communities from unscrupulous contractors. Visit infinityexteriors.com.
Set sail this June for a boundless bounty at Potawatomi. Come aboard, and you might win a share of $300,000 in cash and prizes. Just play with your rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. Boundless bounty this June at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Your win is waiting. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Summertime is the time for all the big events. Weddings, milestone birthdays, even corporate events.
Elevate every event with Noble Catering, a premier craft caterer in southeastern Wisconsin, preferred by over 30 venues. Noble Catering is also the exclusive caterer of Villa Terrace, an east side event treasure. And coming in 2026, Noble's new headquarters, a 400-person event venue in the heart of Bayview called Brixton's Turn. Book them for your event at noblecateringco.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge.
I got you. You got me?
Grainger, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Awesome, thanks.
Evan Cohen here. We all know breakfast is an important part of your day, but when you're traveling for work and your hotel doesn't offer any, you're forced to make do with peanuts and an energy bar as you sprint off to your shift. But if you book a room at La Quinta by Wyndham, you can enjoy their free Bright Side breakfast featuring delicious baked goods, fruit, eggs, yogurt, and waffles. They refuse to let you go to work hungry and aim to send you off fueled up. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow you shine. Book direct at LQ.com.
Don't miss Cherry Pie this Wednesday at the Bud Pavilion's free concert series, Wednesday Night Live. State Fair Park gates open Wednesday night at 6 with Cherry Pie taking the stage at 7. Epic bands, unforgettable nights. It's Wednesday Night Live at the Bud Pavilion.
If only life had a remote control, you could pause or rewind. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
We need a new intro for this year, though.
Consider it done, Rob.
ESPN's #1 source for green and gold information.
The game has to be a continuation of the trend they're on. They can't just sort of go in on a level that, they've been at. They probably do need to play their best game, but I do think it's trending in the right direction.
A prolific golfer?
I was overly harsh about Gabe's golf game because I played terrible yesterday.
And noted hoops head.
If you shoot 60% from the free throw line, you're a bad free throw shooter. If you're 60% in the red zone, I don't think that's good.
It's Rob Demovski time on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
This better be a great segment.
Oh, we know it's going to be a great segment with our guy, Rob Demovski, ESPN.com, part of the team over there breaking the news today. Jaire Alexander being released today by the Green and Gold. Good morning, Rob.
Hi, Gabe. Josh, how are you guys?
Lovely. Happy to be talking to you.
It's football season, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, at least through this week, and then you get like a 6-week reprieve before we get to training camp. And now we know Jaire Alexander not going to be a part of the team, Rob. Was this always the deadline? Because I feel like I was trying to figure that out throughout the course of this offseason because we knew Jaire, the situation didn't seem tenable. But it's like, okay, well, they want to trade him. Oh, they got to trade him before the draft. Okay, obviously not. Oh, then does post-June 1? Okay, that date came and went. But before he was going to report for mandatory minicamp, was that the deadline all along that they wanted to get something done?
Not necessarily, Gabe. They could have let him come to minicamp and just not let him practice. The reason you wouldn't want him to practice is because if he practices and gets hurt on your grounds, then you're on the hook for $17 million this season, whether he can play or not. So I don't necessarily think it was, to be honest with you. They could have taken this all the way to week 1 if they really wanted to. I kind of think, just personally, they took it a little too far as it is. I don't know what the market's going to be for Jaire Alexander now. The Packers, I understand that it's a business, and maybe they ultimately decided that, the pay cut, maybe Jaire decided the pay cut wasn't, going to work for him. Maybe they really did actually want him back if he was willing to pay for X amount of dollars. And we don't know what that necessarily is. Although I did hear that the money was not necessarily the issue with Jaire's camp, but the structure of it, I have no idea what that means. And maybe there wasn't enough guaranteed money. I don't know. But, look, you're talking to a guy who thought this might be settled, before free agency, and then it wasn't settled before free agency. I thought maybe it would be before the draft. So, it's just, I guess for both sides, it's probably better that it is settled if this was going to be the end game anyway. I do think for Jaire, though, it probably hurts him a little bit now with, teams having filled needs in other ways via free agency or the draft.
Rob, to your knowledge, after the potential for any trade fell through earlier in the offseason, were the Packers and Jaire actively negotiating a contract, or were they sort of given an option and they didn't like it, and then we just kind of sat stagnant? Like, how did that process go as far as you're aware?
Yeah, I don't think there was a ton of negotiation, Josh, in there. I think it was, look, Jaire, if you want to come back, here's how we see it happening. Because I don't really think that a contract proposal with specifics was really done until about maybe 2-3, maybe middle of May, 3-4 weeks ago. So it's not like there was a lot of negotiating back and forth. And look, I think for Jaire's part, I think he probably, and his agent, John Thornton, probably said, you know what, we're going to force their hand by showing up to minicamp. This sort of gets back to Gabe's question, originally. Like, if you're the player, you kind of want to know what's going to happen. Where am I going to be? And if you're the team, you want to, and you still think maybe he could help you, you want to try to find a way to make that happen. Obviously, it did.
Talking with Rob Demovski, as Jaire Alexander has been released today. So does he end up in Minnesota, by dinner time today, breakfast tomorrow? When's he going to become a Viking?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, but I'm sure, Justin Jefferson's probably not, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and some of the receivers in the division aren't, broken up about this, that maybe they don't have to face him. Now, how many times a year does he play anyway, which is the root of this whole problem, and how we got to this point. But, it's be interesting to see what the market is for him. I mean, look, he was supposed to make $17.5 million this year. Well, he already gave away $500,000 of that because he didn't show up for the offseason program. So $17 million in salary and whatever bonuses were left. What is the market? What does someone pay him? Is it $4 million? Is it $8 million? I can't see it being $10 million, but maybe it is. And at this point, like we said, so many teams have used the draft and free agency to fill their needs. I mean, just off the top of my head, it seems like Dallas is always involved in these types of players, right? Minnesota, I suppose, is a possibility, although I'm, it'll be interesting.
I was joking, Rob, but then you look at their cornerback room and you're like, well,
right.
Maybe.
I know. Yeah, right. And I mean, there's a few teams like that. You look at, speaking of cornerback rooms, I've seen some reaction on social media that, well, now the Packers have the worst cornerback or worst secondary in the league or worst cornerback situation. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you played the clip of last week from Keyshawn Nixon. I asked him the question, what do you think of your secondary? And he went through player by player by player and never mentioned Jaire. So even the players kind of knew that this was probably coming.
Off of that, Rob, do you think that corner is the weakest position group on the Packers heading into 2025?
I mean, I kind of thought it was one of the weak ones, even in the draft after they had signed Nate Hobbs. I guess in my mind, I always had written Jaire off. I go back to the original reporting that we had done, me, other people on the beat, shortly after the season, when multiple sources, and people were mad at me for saying this, but multiple sources had told me the Packers they were done. They didn't want to go through this. I reported very strongly in February, and people got mad at me, and I stand by that original reporting. I always tell people, I can't tell you my sources, but if I could, you would believe the reports. So I guess I had already sort of written him off, Josh, and thought that it was a position of great need, and was quite frankly, even after signing Hobbs, was surprised that they waited until the 7th round to pick a quarterback.
What do you think the disconnect then is between fan base and analysts and what the Packers are approaching it with? Is it simply they didn't view the draft as strong enough at that position, or does Brian Gutekunst and company think those guys are far better than everyone else?
It's probably that, to be honest with you. I mean, you can even look at draft picks that way. I remember seeing, I can't remember, it was Barron Sorrell or somebody when they got picked in the 4th round. It was like, well, I had him graded as a 7th round pick, or this analyst had him graded. Well, you know what? The Packers did it. So they took him there because that's where they had him graded. And I get a kick out of these people. I had him graded here. I had him. Well, who cares what you had graded? What's your credibility? Who cares where you had him graded? So they reached for this guy or that guy or whatever. So I think it's probably a great point, Josh, and that the Packers feel a certain way about their group, and doesn't mean they won't add to it. Doesn't mean there aren't guys that will come available as training camp approaches or guys get cut. There's a guy they picked up a couple weeks ago, Greg Jr. Is it Greg Jr.? His last name is Junior, and he's a junior, I'm told. They signed him a couple of weeks ago off the street. I think he was a former 6th round pick of the Jaguars. He was got some run with the 1s and the 2s in OTAs. I mean, he's number 38. I don't have my roster in front of me.
Gregory Jr.
Yeah.
Gregory Jr. I know I had Greg part, but Gregory Jr. This is a guy who's not a nobody, right? And I mean, fans won't probably know a lot about him, but this is a guy who they probably clearly think can possibly help the group.
So with this release, Rob, as we talk with Rob Demovski, Jaire Alexander has been released by the Green Bay Packers. The Packers get a nice little bump in salary cap because this ends up being a post-June 1 release.
Right.
What do you think some of the things they could do with that money that they now find themselves flush with?
Yeah, so there'll be they were at about $30 million in cap space before this release, and they're going to pick up, I think, about 16 and a half.
I saw a number that had them with the 3rd most cap space in the NFL.
Yeah, I think they were in the top 10 even before this. Right. So I don't know if it allows them to do something that they couldn't already do, because they probably could have already done something with that much cap space. And they only have one more draft pick to sign, I believe the 2nd round pick, which won't take up a ton of that cap space. So I guess I don't think all of a sudden, Gabe, they can just say, oh, well, look, we picked up all this, we can go do something. I think they could do something anyway.
Will Zach Tom have a contract before the season starts?
I'm going to say maybe not before the season starts, but definitely sometime before the season is over. I mean, they've had plenty of guys over the years that have done deals, in October, November. I mean, David Bakhtiari's deal was done in November and then gets hurt a few weeks later. So I think that I don't think it necessarily has to be done before the season. I don't think Zach Tom's a guy who's going to say I'm not playing without a new deal. But he's clearly in their plans.
Do they take some of this extra money they have and guarantee some money for Elton Jenkins?
That's what Elton Jenkins wants, and we've reported that before, that he wants to protect against the loss of future earnings. He's got no guaranteed money left on his deal. They're not going to. I shouldn't say they're not going to. I highly doubt they will, give him an extension or redo his deal in a significant way, because it sets a bad precedent, because he's got 2 years left on his deal, and they've never, hardly ever, unless it's a quarterback, do that with a player who's got more than 1 year left on his deal. But I mean, they're going to have to do something for Elton. Elton's not from what I was told, Elton's not necessarily upset about the move to center. He's just upset that that he thinks moving to center, is going to hurt him in his next contract and wants some added money now.
Well, because also, I mean, you look at the contract, Rob, and obviously the way most of these work, they end up being a little more backloaded. You're making more money in the fourth year. And when he signed this contract, it's like, yeah, you're a guard. Maybe we'll kick you out to tackle, though, because there was some debate if that was going to happen.
Yep.
So the money he's making next year seems like a lot for a center when you take a look around the league. And I'm sure Elton's aware of that. And he could easily be released from that contract next year. So it's really, he's got 1 year left on his deal moving into center. I get where he wants a little more security.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's say he moves to center and, it goes okay, but they think, well, he's going to make in 2026, his base salary is $18.5 million. Maybe they say, he's good, but he's not $18.5 million good. So we're going to move on. And then, there's no way he's getting that kind of money on the open market at center probably. So, yeah, I understand where Elton's coming from. And from his standpoint, look, he's been, I don't want to say the good soldier, but he's moved around for the team, right? There have been games where he's played everywhere on the offensive line at one point or another. And I think he's like, hey, I helped you guys out, help me out a little bit. And I think the only way to do that is guaranteeing some of this money.
Rob, what was your reaction and how did you perceive the local and national conversation about Jordan Love and sort of the reaction from both him and Matt LaFleur about the idea of regressing or simply just needing to play better? Gabe and I were talking about it. We just found it interesting, sort of the defense that Matt LaFleur seemed to offer up for Jordan that they don't necessarily grant to other players on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think quarterback, as we know, quarterbacks are handled differently anyway. I do think that maybe, there is that people weren't giving Jordan Love the pass for the injury. And not saying that they should have, but it was like it wasn't even taken into consideration, Josh. It was just, Jordan Love didn't have the year that he had last year. So I think from the Packers standpoint, I think they felt like maybe it was a little bit, they're going to stand up for their guy a little bit. I did think the most interesting part of that, though, was Jordan Love snapping back is probably too strong, but for him, it was snapping back because I've never heard him challenge or, he's normally been completely non-confrontational or, he's just willing to let that stuff go. And he snapped back at the idea that, it wasn't as good a year. I don't remember exactly how the question was phrased, but he definitely snapped back. So I think it's at least noteworthy.
It seems like everybody wants to cling onto the word regressed or regression when the reality is, Rob, and I think everybody, Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love would agree that if the Packers want to achieve their goals and they want to be more than a 7 seed that gets bounced in the playoffs early, Jordan Love just has to play better. Like, whether or not he regressed last year, I don't think is, to me, the issue. It's, hey, he just, and not to say that he can't. He's going to be going into year 3, but he has to play better and he has to be more consistent for the Packers to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and maybe that's needing a go-to receiver, right? Maybe that's needing a guy that in a playoff game when you absolutely have to have something, he'll catch it. Maybe that's, guys not dropping passes as much. And I think I don't think anybody would debate, Gabe, that if they're going to go where they want to go and where fans want them to go, that the offense from a passing game standpoint has to be better. I think it'll be interesting to see, how they sort of figure out, how they can still get the most out of Josh Jacobs, but also not just become a running team also, right? I mean, like, you have to throw the ball in this league, and very few teams can win it just running the ball. And I think it'll be interesting to see what the next evolution of this offense is, trying to marry up both of those things.
What's the golf game like right now?
It was terrible for most of the spring, and it is not for lack of playing. Hopefully my bosses aren't listening to this, but I have definitely gotten my share in. But the last week or so, I've seen a little bit of a turnaround. Shot 75 on Saturday and 80 yesterday, but had a couple of doubles. So I feel like, I feel like I made 3 birdies and it shot 80, so I feel like that I can give myself a little bit of a pass there. But before that, man, Gabe, my handicap was creeping up toward 10, and I said if I got to double digits, I quit. As someone who was once a 1.8 or 2.0 handicap, I said if I got to double digits, I quit. And I was 9 point something. Now I'm back in the 7s.
Okay,
Hopefully, I feel like I can legitimately. I feel like, Gabe, I don't know how you feel about this. You're younger than me. You're probably still hanging on to hopes of scratch. I feel like I can legitimately be like a 4 or 5 again. But I'm not a 10, and I would refuse to play as a 10.
All right. Well, if you want to drive down 43 at some point and join me for a round at the Wisconsin Country Club, would love to have you out there, bud.
That place is great. I would love to.
All right, we'll set that up. Well, Rob and I will finally get to play some golf this. Enjoy the last few days here for Packers OTAs before summer now hits, and hopefully you get a little bit of a break because now you don't have to worry about the Jaire news.
Right, this is a good week, man. This is like the last week of school, sort of, but it's an important one too. Like it's not like you're just mailing it in and the teacher's showing movies and. You get to go outside and do, play kickball. Like this is a real week and it should be an interesting week. It's sort of I like the way the end of the off season because there's going to be some news. There already has been some news. So it'll be a good week from that standpoint. And then you get away from it. And then here we go. I sort of look at the end of this week is the end of last season. Like last season hasn't ended yet. This week is the end of the season.
Oh, okay. I like the way you put that and phrase that. All right. Well, you enjoy the week, Rob. Can't wait to see you on the golf course, bud.
All right. We'll be seeing you guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Rob Demovski joins us in season on Mondays, but joined us today because big breaking news with Jaire Alexander being released.
For your next big event, Noble Catering has to be your first call. Southeastern Wisconsin's premier craft caterer, preferred by over 30 venues in the area. And coming up in the spring of 2026, Noble's new headquarters, Brixton's Turn, a 400-person event venue located in the heart of Bayview's Harbor District. Have beverage needs for that upcoming party? Neat Beverage Catering offers mobile bartending to elevate that event. And last, but most certainly not least, check out the stunning riverfront bar inside the Associated Bank River Center Vault. A perfect summer spot before a night out on the town or a ball game. Featuring happy hour specials, a menu with tremendous flatbreads, and a raw bar. And of course, an incredible view of the Milwaukee River.
Breaking green and gold news on ESPN Milwaukee. The Packers and Jaire Alexander are no more. React to the news of the day right here on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app. The best source for every piece of NFL news you need to know.
The people there made it a really great trip. The people in Green Bay were really nice, like literally driving ESPN people around themselves.
ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter is on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy every Wednesday morning at 7:30. Sponsored by Island Resort and Casino.
The Pancake Palace in Green Bay was outstanding. So really nice trip.
On 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
It's happened again. Another local organization switching to business technology from James Imaging Systems. This time, it's St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care. CFO Sally Parente.
We were unhappy with our previous vendor. It was always a big production. We also had some issues with pricing.
And now with James Imaging Systems?
The service, the value, and the ease with which we can just keep using their service and not having any big headaches. We're getting value here as well.
Just what you'd expect from James Imaging Systems, a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed company. AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, and digital transformation.
I love that they're a local company. They've been a wonderful business partner for St. Anne Center.
Make the switch to James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
The best mornings
In the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started on the right foot.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Good mornings make for better days.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Wrangler, for the ride of life.
You've probably heard of speed dating, but what if there was something similar for hiring, especially if you're running a growing business? There is Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and talk to interested qualified candidates tomorrow. Simply select a time, and Zip Intro finds and schedules qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you'd like to connect with and meet and greet people through back-to-back video calls starting as soon as the next day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/USL. That's ZipRecruiter.com/USL.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text BODY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text BODY to 321-321. That's BODY to 321-321.
The pulse of the Milwaukee Bucks, straight from a Bucks legend.
Can't get it off. Marcus Johnson will, though. Can't leave him alone for a 12.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson on Bucks Plus. Marcus and his son Chris offer a weekly beat on Bucks basketball. Get your questions answered and hear from the biggest names in basketball. Find Here District with Marcus Johnson at bucks.com/plus on the Bucks app or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
What do we do? Where do we go from here?
We've talked about insulation, we've talked about fantasy camp, and now we've talked about Burning Man. We've hit for the cycle in the first 5 minutes of the show.
On 94.5 ESPN.
Here we go.
Jaire no longer a Packer, but Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports reporting that the Bills were a team that held trade talks with the Packers around Jaire Alexander. Obviously, that did not come to fruition, but maybe keep an eye on the Bills, despite drafting Maxwell Hairston as a team that could be interested in Jaire Alexander, as he is now on the open market. Wilde and Tausch, I'm guessing they're going to continue to talk about this. Coming up next.
We have a pretty serious fire on westbound 94 right about at Sunny Slope Road. You have the right 3 lanes blocked because of this vehicle fire. They have put fire retardant and water and all that stuff on it. It's still smoking. They're trying to crack it open so they can